Hi, everyone. It's Marcia Martin, the Heart Healer. And today I want to before we begin, we are going to talk about shame, and we're going to look at shame from two different perspectives. The first one being when you have been made to feel shame, when you've been the victim or the receiver of someone saying, "Oh, shame on you." But I also want us to look at when we may have done that to someone else, because we need to forgive both of those times. We're never going to overcome something if we're afraid to look at it. So the most important thing that you can do is look at what is going on, look at the behavior as an observer, and then decide what's going to feel best to my heart. What will make me feel good? What action can I take? And if we are being honest with ourselves, it never feels good to cut someone down, to blame someone else, or to run away from something that we may have caused. So I know in the initial rush and the anger, when we're in that lower vibration, it may feel good to say to somebody, "Look what you did. You caused this problem," whatever. But take a moment, step away from whatever is happening, and ask yourself, will that feel good in 5 minutes? Will that feel good tomorrow? Will that feel good when I want to lay my head on the pillow tonight? Try to be an uncritical, very important observer, and just love yourself through it. When you make a decision that may not serve your highest good, let it go. Acknowledge that you have made that decision and that you've made that choice, but then let it go. If you do not want to receive the end product of making a bad decision, you cannot hang on to the punishment end of the stick. Just put it all down. Look at me, I made this really bad decision. Deep breath. I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to let go of the entire thing and look for the love, the blessing, the joy, the thing that feels good to my heart. Now, I meant to tell you before I got all off on this shame routine, I meant to share with you to be on the alert, the joy alert. We are coming up to the 11-11-11 portal. That is November, which is the 11th month. Sunday, which is the 11th day of the 11th month in the year 2018, which reduces to an 11. So it's the 11-11-11 portal. And whenever you see anything that is sequential like this, repeating, synchronistic kind of events, you know that it's a high energy charge and you want to be available to receive the loving energy. Whenever I say there is a high energy charge on something, it is never the lightning bolt of negativity that's going to come and get you. It is always the open arms of love, that love that's just pouring forth. And I want you under that stream with your heart open to receive as much of that love as possible. But beginning with that 11-11 synchronistic event, we are opening the gateway to an even more intense outpouring of love. So look in your inboxes. Sunday morning, you will receive, I'm going to channel a message from the guides about this portal. You'll receive it Sunday morning. If you're not on my email list, please sign up. You don't want to miss out. You want this information. You want to be able to use it. You want to be prepared. So if you want to get on my email list and you aren't already, MarciaMartinTheHeartHealer.com. Marcia, spelled M-A-R-C-I-A. MarciaMartinTheHeartHealer.com. You can either click on contact or right in the middle of the page it says Inspire Me. Click on that. It will take you over to where you can sign up to receive the email. And I offer everyone who is new to my email list an opportunity to schedule a 30-minute From Victim to Victorious session with me. Let's find out what's going on in your life that may be holding you stuck. Where do you want to go? Where would you love to be if you felt like nothing was holding you back? And okay, what could be holding you back? We'll look at those two things, and I will make sure that before that session closes or finishes up with me that you're feeling inspired to go make this happen for yourself. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't want to spend too much time on announcements because let's do some inner child work today. Really important when we're talking about shame that we have a moment to speak to the inner child that may have received hurt from behavior from well-meaning or not well-meaning adults or other people around us. It doesn't matter whether the person that was speaking to you was coming from a place of trying to help you correct your behavior and not knowing how to do it appropriately, or if they were coming from a place of their own shame or superiority or a place of not so loving correction. It just matters how you receive it. Because anytime we say, well, if they acted differently, then I could feel better, you've given all your power away. You're saying Joe Smith on the corner is more powerful than you are. And I'm asking you to bring the power back home. Understand that people can act unloving all around you, and you can still feel loved because it's up to you how you interpret what people are saying or doing around you. I know it feels like they've got the power and you don't when they hurt your feelings, but they're your feelings and you can choose not to have them hurt. You can be feeling so strong and so centered in yourself that you're able to look at their behavior and share love with them instead of looking at their behavior and feeling ashamed, offended, or destroyed in some way. So, here we go. Let's find out what our guides are saying about shame. Shame on you. The debilitating effects of shame and blame. Dear ones, so much of your attempt to control each other is through the mechanism of shame. Now remember, I said we were going to look at this from both sides. We have all tried to shame others, and we've all been the recipients of shame. So we're not saying one is worse or better than the other. We are learning, we're educating ourselves. Conversely, the one who's being shamed will then try to shift the burden of guilt, the heavy weight of negativity, off of themselves by blaming another from whom they fear no retaliation. Now, this is the beginning of bullying. Bullying often comes from feeling ashamed. Someone else makes you feel ashamed, and you turn around and try to find somebody that you feel is less than you that you can blame for why you acted in the way that you did. A bully always feels insecure and is looking for someone they don't fear retaliation from to take out their sense of shame, their sense of unworthiness. And often we choose one who's perceived to be weaker or out of reach. Therefore we ask, wouldn't it serve you better to respond to each other with love? Now, that sounds kind of silly, like of course it would. Just take a moment and ask yourself, how many times have I responded with hatred, with judgment, with fear, with censure, with shame, and with blame instead of with love? Shame has been hardwired into the ego's survival system, but you are more than the ego. You are not at the mercy of fate, nor are you without the capacity to reason. You are simply not thinking. Instead, you are content to react, and those reactions, unless you've trained yourself differently, are coming from a place of fear. Interesting. We automatically react out of fear. We go into fight or flight mode unless we have been diligent in our training. So I just want you to hear that. Our normal go-to reaction when we come from the place of ego is to react out of fear. Think about what you just heard there for a second. Do you want to be chained to the ego, always reacting from fear, or are you ready to seek the fullness of God and begin being able to react from love? You can't, no matter how hard you try, cut yourself off from God completely. But when you open the connection as far as you possibly can, you receive all of these things that you were afraid you would never be able to have. The love that you were seeking outside of yourself, you find within. The ability to make wise decisions is right there for you. You become everything you wanted to be and were afraid you never could be, because you already are all of these things. You just have to open yourself up so that you're able to express them. So when you feel compelled to shame another, it's not because you believe you're helping them by correcting them in this matter. No, you're suffering from a fear illusion. Wow. When you shame the behavior of someone, you're doing so because you're afraid that their shameful behavior will make you look bad. Just take a minute. Think about the last time you pointed your finger at someone and said something that, shame on you, look what you've done. Were you really wanting to help them from a loving place, or were you protecting yourself? It's not the one you're shaming that you care about at this moment. It's what others will think of you that matters. Your attempt to shame another is really you trying to avoid the embarrassment that the actions of the other may cause you. It's also a way to assert your superiority, but never is it a loving gesture offered for the well-being of another. Therefore, shame cannot come from God. Take a minute to hear that. Those people who told you in those times that you were complicit in shame. Think about all of the times you've heard, I'm doing this for your own good. God wants me to do this to whatever you've heard. I can't even think of anything that would work in that scenario right now. Think about all of the times that there has been an excuse before the shame. If you've got to make an excuse, you probably should not be doing it. And if it's not loving, you definitely shouldn't be doing it. Anything that comes from God will be loving and non-destructive. All that comes from ego will be self-satisfying and destructive. Now let's look at that word self-satisfying for a minute. Temporarily self-satisfying. Once the ego has gotten whatever it thought it wanted, it immediately begins looking for its next prize. It's never satisfied. So you perhaps will be temporarily satisfied, but it's never that soul satisfaction. Yet, how can you tell when you're caught up in that moment when blame and shame seem to be the only logical answer to unseemly behavior? You must always check in with your heart. So, as always, there is one sure way to get your life right. Check with your heart. Before you allow that less than loving comment to leave your mouth, check with your heart. Ask yourself, how will I feel after I allow this to leave my lips? The mind may tell you, you're doing the right thing. You're offering loving correction. They deserved it. And so on. But the heart is not so easily deceived. If you find yourself feeling or acting smug, superior, or holier than others, you're in danger of answering to the divisiveness of the ego. The minute you feel like, whew, look at me, compared to them, you're stepping into the ego's territory, and you've got to really take a look, take a step back, take a look, and ask yourself, why am I engaging in this behavior? It doesn't mean it's always wrong. It means you need to take a step back and ask. No good comes to you by forcing others into negativity, by shaming or blaming. You must remember that you live in a circular universe. What you put forth will find its way back to you. Therefore, when you stride forth with righteousness to cast blame and hurl shame upon another, you would be best served by looking behind you at the wave of negativity that's just waiting to consume you. And now, I don't know about you, but I know in my life, before I realized the penalty that I would pay for being negative and sharing that negativity, I was extremely caught up in negative conversations and thinking, and completely shocked and surprised when more negative consumed me. I just could not figure out how me talking about everything that was wrong would bring more wrong. But it did. Now, conversely, if you spend your days free of judgment, observing the world from the high place of love, joy, and peace, while sharing kindness with others, correction when needed, and unconditional love for all that they are, even when they make a mistake that could cause you embarrassment and shame, you'll need never look over your shoulder. For you will already be wearing around you a cloak of unconditional love that is shot through with the finest threads of peace and joy. If you want to live a life that feels good, break up with the ego. Stop listening to that voice which drives you forward from one misstep to the next. It's quite easy to end your relationship with the ego. Simply spend time in your heart, in the place of truth and wisdom, where you will be led to divine truth. Now, let's just take a moment to look at what happens when you're feeling really good, you're in that high place, you've really lined up with your heart, you're totally in alignment with the divine, and you're just pouring forth love. And someone does something that is shameful, that they've really made a bad choice. You know what? Instead of feeling like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be associated with this person because I'm feeling a little bit of shame on their behalf for their action, you'll say, I really need to wrap them in love. I think from my perspective, they're making a decision that probably is going to impact negatively on their lives. Let me wrap them in love. Let me provide energetic support so they can work through this in the way that's for their highest good. And I don't have to worry that their bad decision is going to affect me adversely because I'm my own person and I get to make my own decisions. So I don't have to live in fear. Just remember, none of you are lost and alone. All of you are on a journey of experiences that are designed to help you grow. So let everyone, yourself included, explore, experiment, get it right, and get it wrong. That's why we're here. This means that you'll swing along the arc of the pendulum from victim to perpetrator. None of you came here to be saints. Some people did evolve to the place where they engaged in saintly behavior, but generally it was through the journey of pain. So none of us came here to be saints or came as saints or came to never put a foot wrong. All of you came here to learn. Learning means winning and losing, succeeding and failing, acting in love and hurting others out of fear. Now, it's okay to do the wrong thing. This is what they're telling us right here. It's okay to get it wrong. It's not okay to get it wrong, get it wrong, get it wrong, get it wrong, and then point the finger at someone else or try to shame someone for your behavior. That doesn't help you grow. When you get it wrong, take responsibility and do your best to put things to right. We seek to guide you into great success, more wins, and unconditional love, but it will never happen if you wield the whip of shame against yourselves. As with every correction toward love, you must first begin with yourself. This is imperative because every being has been given by the divine the right to choose, and what God gives you do not have the power or the right to take away. So, please, if you are in a situation with someone and you feel that you cannot act a certain way because they'll get upset and they are more powerful than you are, That's your own misperception. Perhaps they are physically stronger. I would remove myself from their physical presence. But you are as strong energetically as anyone else you will ever encounter. You have been given free will and you have the right to choose. You may choose to give your power away. You may choose to believe others are stronger or more worthy. But it was your choice. And because it's your choice, you can change your mind anytime you decide. So therefore, you must begin with yourself when implementing any new behavior. Yet, this must be done without force. Give yourself permission to receive loving kindness. When I am in a counseling session with any of the people that I work with, that is one of the things that we need to work on first, is permission to receive. Permission to receive kindness. Permission to exist without shame. Permission to feel good about every aspect of yourself. Because until you feel good about you, you're never going to feel good or act lovingly toward others. Feel good about you, and then you will automatically extend it to all others. You will become the lighthouse that guides instead of the battering ram that demolishes. If you have found that you are harsh, critical, can't think of another word. Okay, let's just use harsh and critical. If you have found that you are harsh and critical toward others, or that you feel that others are harsh and critical toward you, that's because either you or they are not self-loving. Therefore, you do not have the love to share with others. Work on you first. Get the relationship with you improved. Your relationship with all others will automatically improve. The more you love you, the kinder, the more understanding, the more compassionate you can be toward others. But you must first extend this to yourself. You first. If every person on the planet said, I am the most important, my self-love comes first, this planet would be healed. That is not a selfish action. That is the action of extreme wisdom in the ultimate survival. Whenever you see someone that is not acting in a loving way toward themselves, you might try to help them see their good. Perhaps you need to say to them, I think you're lovely. I think you're wonderful. Do you see your brilliance? Do you see all that you are? Maybe they need a little support from you. So now that you've agreed to stop using an eye of criticism towards yourself and others, you should feel the burden you're carrying begin to lighten. Negativity is a heavy weight, and when you carry it for long periods, it causes you to break. If you are feeling broken at this moment, look towards your language, your thoughts, your feelings. Are you choosing with care words that are joy-filled and uplifting and self-loving? Or are you the whip wielder, choosing words that are critical and negative and thoughts Check those thoughts. Negativity prevents you from giving and receiving, thereby isolating you from the one thing none of you can live without: love. When you shout while pointing an accusatory finger, just look what you've done. What will the neighbors think? How will I hold my head up in public? I am ashamed because of you. You shrivel the essence, the part of you that is you, and you give rise to the ego, the false self that answers only to fear. So when we get into our finger-pointing mode and we start the accusatory conversation with another, we have stepped out of love, we've stepped out of divine alignment, and we have stepped into the ego, and we are now the handmaiden of fear. This day and every day, it's time to stop the madness. Stop giving into fear. Instead of saying, look what you've done, try looking at yourself in the mirror or at the child standing in front of you and say, everyone makes mistakes. Let's clean this up, put it to rights, and start all over. I know you didn't mean it. When you forego shame and put acceptance in its place, you're providing a lovely place of growth for your inner child as well as the child standing before you. Those of you who still have young children in your home, or those of you who are grandparents who are interacting with young children, let the love precede you. Just stop the shaming correction. You can help them. You can point out a way to do something better without needing to go into a fear-based shame stance. Loving growth spaces are safe. They allow you to explore and expand. Nothing new was ever discovered because someone was afraid to try. But every advancement was made because someone pushed their fear aside and decided to give it a go. Now, I'm going to share with you a little bit about what my journey to this work was like. Coming from a place of severe shame and fear, but growing into a place of love and acceptance so that I can now do for my profession, for my work, I can now help guide you into a place of love and acceptance. There were no safe, loving spaces for me that didn't have judgment, shame, blame, and fear tucked into the corner. Please don't give that to your children. Tell them they are wonderful, powerful, brilliant, wise, as you remind yourself of all those things as well. A healthy individual, a healthy society is not one that's confined by a harsh code of conduct which is enforced with shame. No. Nope. Health comes when all individuals are encouraged to explore, to experiment, to try without feeling they will be shamed for being different or for trying something new. Now remember, I've told you the story of the children that I was assigned to teach, and the first little interaction that I had was a boy, 8 years old, who brings his paper up to me, and when I ask him, how do you think you did? he says, oh, I already know I failed, because his only interaction with school was that he failed everything. Think how debilitating the energy of failure had become in his life. And fast forward to the end of the year, when they were nurtured in this environment of loving acceptance and being told they could instead of they couldn't. And he was able to pass a standardized test in the upper 80 and above percentile. They all scored in the upper percentile on the standardized third grade end of year test. Love changes everything. So ask yourself, will you fall down or even fail during the process? Yeah, you probably will. Is that going to be the end of it for you? No, because if you refuse to give up or give in, your success is as certain as your next breath. So don't try something new saying, if I fail, it's the end of the world. Try something new saying, you know what, there's a strong likelihood that I might not get it right the first time. But you know what, I don't care. I know if I keep going, I will succeed. I know if I keep going that I'm going to learn something great. I'm going to become something more. So instead of looking for reasons to hide, for reasons why not, and for reasons to escape the shame of embarrassment, open to the possibility of why not. Why not? Give yourself permission to try, and then give yourself permission to succeed by refusing to play the blame-shame game. You'll never get it all right, and you'll never get it all wrong. Accept each one of these occurrences with the same grace and absolutely no shame or superiority. If you want to be a winner who feels good about themselves and makes others feel that way, learn how to offer loving acceptance in the place of shame. Winners do not. True winners, I know there are certainly people who attach superiority to winning. But as someone who is really a winner, a champion, a true hero, never feels the need to put down someone else who did not do as well as they did. Instead, they are able to offer a loving hand. They want to give back. So today, I really want to ask you to step into the role of champion. That person who wants to give back, who recognizes how great they are and wants to share their greatness with someone else, because then you have two great people who are paying it forward. And that's how we change the world. So whenever you feel tempted to point your finger and shame all over yourself or someone else, ask yourself, will this behavior make me feel good? Will it lift me up? Will it resolve the issue? Will it right the wrong? Shame heaps more wrong on top of a mistake and causes both parties to become buried under the weight of negativity. Like an avalanche, unconditional love releases both parties from blame and lifts everyone into a higher vibrational space. And what we know about the energy of love is that it cannot be contained within four walls or within your own little body. So love, which is a beautifully expansive emotion, flows from you into all of the people around you, and everyone is given the opportunity to rise. Negativity also flows from you to all the people around you, but it causes all of the people to feel burdened. So be the bearer of unconditional love and help others rise. Because when love is your guide, you'll be proud to say, "Look what I've done," instead of, "Look what I've done." Same words, completely different meaning. Choose love and say to yourself, "Look what I've done," because you are magnificent. Okay, now I want to do a little bit of inner child work. Let's quickly review what they shared with us. Now, star 2, if you have a question or a concern about anything we've talked about so far, or if you just want to share something. Remember, check that inbox on Sunday morning, 11/11/11. We really want to be as open and receptive as possible so that we can be receiving the most amount of loving energy from this point forward. So, just a quick review, and then let's get into our hearts and speak with the inner child and release some of the burden of guilt and shame that you may be carrying. Whenever we try to correct someone's behavior by shaming them into improving, we start the domino effect. You shame someone or yourself, and then that pain causes you or the one you shamed to blame someone else, and then they feel bad or ashamed or unworthy or wanting to run away from the pain, and they look to find someone else to shame or to blame. Shaming is always going to come from a place of fear. So anytime you feel that need rising up within you, recognize that it's coming from fear, not from a loving place. And that reminds me, I know in an earlier channeling, they had said the word correction was even too strong a word, and yet they used it quite a bit in this channeled message. It was because I asked them to use the word correction because I was having difficulty finding words that were softer. So when they're saying to us, correct the behavior, it is for your ease, not because you're bad and you should be ashamed. Correct the behavior. Correct the choice to be afraid when you could choose love. It's not a negative that I'm trying to imply here. So we might think that we're trying to stop or correct a behavior. But honestly, when we really look back at it, we're just trying to make sure we won't be made to feel small or embarrassed. You know, that look what you've done. What have you done? Shame on you. That's just you saying, oh, what will the neighbors think? Because anything that comes from God is loving. And that doesn't make me feel good. That makes me feel bad, so I know it's from ego. It's a trick of my mind, of our minds, to keep us playing the game of belittlement. The ego loves to have a winner and a loser, but we don't need to. The ego can't protect or prevent you from the effects of universal law. So, hey, we know what goes around comes around, and what you put out, you will receive. So please take a breath and let go of that harsh criticism. Instead, step back into love for yourself, and let it spill out of you onto everyone that you encounter. Let your daily purpose be to share kindness, and your life will change dramatically. When you're sharing kindness, when you're sharing love, you've basically wrapped yourself up in an attraction cloak. A magnet of bring me more to appreciate, more reasons to be kind, more reasons to be grateful and to rejoice. So when you've wrapped yourself in a cloak of shame, you've also wrapped yourself in an attraction cloak. You're just not going to like what you attract. So let it go. You don't need it anymore. And here's something that we need to remember, and I find that I have to remind myself over and over and over again, because I so want to step in and stop when I see or hear them doing something that might cause them pain. Let it go. Let go of your judgment and know everyone is exactly where they're supposed to be. Even those who appear to be doing everything wrong are doing their part in their own journey. You don't know their journey. You don't know why they've chosen what they've chosen. You can be of assistance by wrapping them in an energetic blanket of pink and gold light, but you do not need to step in their path and say, oh no, you're doing it all wrong. Let me show you how. If they ask for help, sure. But we have to learn to just let people be where they are and learn what they need to learn and enjoy their own journey without trying to control or manipulate them for their journey to feel good to us. Just wrap them up in your love and they will be okay. And also for you, if your journey seems to be going off in a crazy direction, give yourself the permission to explore or to change. If you don't like the direction, change it. Give yourself permission to make a mistake, to fall on your face. You'll get back up again. But remember also to give yourself permission to receive kindness, acceptance, and love. When you release the need to be critical, that heavy, heavy weight, it's lifted from your shoulders. Self-judgment, criticism, heavy weight. Criticism from others, tough. But self-condemnation, oh my gosh, the worst. You've got to live with yourself 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's no hanging up the phone from yourself. So when you are wanting to be critical of everything you're thinking, saying, and doing, you are creating such a heavy burden for yourself to carry. Sometimes you are doing the wrong thing and the behavior needs to change. But changed behavior should feel good and not like punishment. Now, okay, sometimes, let's say you're addicted to sweets and you know that you should not be eating all these sweets. You're really not feeling well. In the beginning, when you decide, okay, I'm going to limit the number of sweets, it may not feel good. You may have an adjustment period. But you will know with the highest part of yourself that you have made a really good choice. And even though it's temporarily uncomfortable, you're still doing the very best thing. behavior that you have changed out of shame may not feel that way. So if you say, and if you try to change because you're trying to shame yourself into changing, let's say you're a smoker and you say, oh no, I don't want to smoke anymore. Oh, that's so shameful. Look at, oh, I'm so upset with myself. Look what I've done. You know what? You're going to probably smoke 3 packs that day. Instead, say to yourself, I would feel better. My lungs would feel clearer. My pocketbook would be fuller. Start looking at the positives of life instead of the negatives and trying to change from a place of negativity. Also, remember, when you change your tone and the meaning, that is going to help so much. So you can say, just look what you've done. And you can feel the heavy weight of shame and criticism in my voice. Or, and I say this often to people that I work with, just look what you've done. I'm so proud of all that you've accomplished. And let me tell you, those were the same words. How many words? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 words. Same 5 words. But one way made you want to crawl in a hole, and the other way you really felt, yes, I can be so proud of myself because look at all that I've done. Look at how far I've come. Look at me. So we're going to learn to use the eraser instead of the whip. If, and let's admit it, when you make a mistake, just correct it and move on. Get over it as quickly as you can. Allow yourself to be fully healthy in body, mind, and spirit by giving yourself the permission that you need to succeed and to fail, to make a mistake and to get it right. Because expansion is never going to come from painting yourself a box and saying, stand inside. It can only come from trying something new and breaking out of the same old pattern. So, with that being said, star 2, anybody have something they want to add? So let's take a moment, close our eyes, couple of deep heart breaths in through the nose, exhaling out through the heart, allowing the breath to help you release, lowering your resistance to change, breathing in love and acceptance and allowing the love and acceptance to move through your body and out through the heart. Let us bring energy from your higher self point. All of your guides, angels, archangels, ascended masters are there with the information, the help, and the energy that you need to move things out of your energetic space. Bring this energy in through the crown to the midbrain area, forward to the third eye, midbrain, nape of the neck, the ultra major portal, forward to the throat, thymus, midway between the throat and the heart, into the heart, letting the energy expand there. Solar plexus, sacrum, root. Extending the energy through the pranic tube, bless the earth and everything in it and on it. And now extend the energy into the heart of Mother Earth. sharing your love, God's love, the love of the energetic realm with her, as she shares her ability to renew and restore. Bringing this up through the pranic tube, this combined energetic stream of love and renewal. Bless the root, sacrum, solar plexus, heart, thymus, throat, nape of the neck, alta major, midbrain, third eye, crown, up through the higher self point. Give this energy as a gift of gratitude to God that they may add their wisdom and their all-knowingness, their unconditional love to this energy, and send it out to all universes known and unknown, and down upon the earth and everything in it and on it. But the most sacred portion of this energy, allow it to come down right through your higher self point, right down into the heart. And now use it to create your sacred circle of white light right in front of the heart. With your third eye looking into the circle, call yourself as you are now, the being that is you. Once you've arrived in the circle, I want you to call the aspect of yourself that remembers a time when you were made to feel ashamed. Call in the aspect of you that immediately comes to mind when you were shamed, made to feel small. Once that both of you are within the circle, the first thing I want you to do is to tell that aspect of you, whether it's a small child or whether it's you a couple of days ago. Say to that other being, I love you. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. Let's release you from that energy right now. Archangel Michael comes forward, carrying with him his brilliant sword of truth. Allow him now to cut away any negativity that's anchoring you to the lower vibrational plane. Just let go. On you, on you, on you, on you, on you, on you. Archangel Michael has completely surrounded you with his love, his truth, and taken from you the burden of negativity. He's just cut it all away, allowed it to drop away into the abyss, to be transformed by God into more love. And now allow yourself to rise. Feel as though you're carried by balloons, by the wings of angels, by whatever feels good to you. But you are lifted up into the highest heights of unconditional love, and there waiting for you is a whole heavenly host of angels that welcome you into their innermost being, that surround you with love And you feel joy beginning to well up inside you and beginning to spill forth because you're no longer burdened by that incident, that time when someone pointed their finger at you. You're free. You've been released. You feel good. And that good that you feel, that love that you feel is welling up inside of you, rising to the very top and still going. There's so much love being generated, so much good feeling being generated by you as you've been released from this burden that you're carrying, that you begin overflowing. And first it overflows onto the angels that are all around you as a thank you for lifting you up with their wings. And now it begins overflowing into all those that are around you, beginning with your loved ones that you live with, and extending out into strangers that may be neighbors, and then extending even further, so that the town, the city, the village in which you live will become saturated with this love. And the more people that receive the love, the greater the love becomes until it permeates your entire state, and then your region, and then your country, and then the world. And that's how we change the world. Not with yelling, but with love, because we feel good about ourselves. So allow yourself just to drift back down into the circle. And allow the you that is there that is you today to say to that other being, thank you. Thank you for giving us our freedom, for saying yes, for giving us permission to receive unconditional love today. Thank you. I love you. I'm so grateful to be me. I am so grateful to receive. I am so grateful to be loved. Now let's do a heart exchange with that aspect of you that just a few minutes ago was hurting badly and is now shining brightly. Let's share love. On you, on you, on you, on you, on you, on you, on you. Now you have before you a beautifully glowing representation of yourself, an aspect of yourself that was you at one point in time. And you get to decide, would you like this version of you to return to the energetic realm to be a cheerleader, a support system for you of unconditional love? Or would you like to take that aspect of yourself deep within your being, because you're now radiating unconditional love? That hurt child, that hurt you that used to exist, exists no more, and is just burning brightly with unconditional love. So you may either release your former self or bring it to you and unite with it, with the understanding that all that is left of that previous time, that previous you, is love. Whatever happened before happened, Archangel Michael assisted you in letting it go. You gave permission to receive the healing and received it beautifully. So now step into the fullness of unconditional love. Breathe deeply of unconditional love. Feel yourself moving into greater alignment with the divine and expanding in new and more beautiful ways. And when you're ready, take a deep breath. Give yourself a hug. Receive a hug from all of the angels, the archangels, and the ascended masters that have been here with you today. And open your eyes as you come on back. Thank you for sharing with me today. Thank you for allowing me to share my love with you and invite you into this rich inner world of unconditional love. Remember to check your inbox Sunday morning. And until next Wednesday, I'm sending you all my love.